Welcome to Smith Coding and Design. This is tutorial 1 in the Hylian Shield Coaster series. Today what we're going to do is go ahead and prep the model, and then we will go ahead and set up our Op2 fixture or go through all of the soft draw machining. So with that being said, let's hop right in. So here is our Hylian Shield Coaster. Now all we want to do here is we want to create a top patch and a bottom patch so that when we get into Op1 and Op2 you will be able to see how we use those patches to contain a 3D spiraling toolpath to the top surface of our part, just to try to get the best surface finish we can. So to do that, it's very easy. All that we're going to do is go to sketches here, and you notice I have a sketch on the top surface of our part, which is just a circle. So again, this is based on the top face, and this will be provided for you or with the model you grab from the description. So if you're going to do this on your own, all you would do is say create new sketch and then click on the top face here and create your circle that sort of contains the entire shield. You'll also notice I have one for the bottom, so when we flip the part over to do Op2, again we can contain our 3D spiral toolpath. So the first thing we're going to do here, again, I'm just going to go ahead and enable the top circle, and then I'm going to go to the surface tab, and then I'm going to click on patch. So it's that simple. And now what we're going to do is just patch all of the openings and all of the circles. We just want to get a solid circle here. There we go. So now we have our solid circle that covers the entire top of our shield. So that's all we need to do for our first patch. I'm going to click OK. So what we need to do next is go ahead and go to the bottom. So we'll do that now. And we'll go ahead and enable our bottom circle. And you'll notice, let me orbit here so we can see. You'll notice you see the patch here. And so what happens is when we create that patch, we are essentially creating a new body. So we'll go to that in a second because we do want to make those bodies different components, and I will explain why. So we have our bottom circle enabled so that we can see it. So again, that's just a sketch. What I want to do now is go to patch, and we're going to patch everything in again so that it's a solid blue circle. Press OK. And now we have two bodies. So what I want to do now, and because, so I ended up with an issue in Fusion where if I didn't make the shield and the patches separate components, then the Op2, when I selected use stock from preceding setup, it would give me an error and it would say that it could not find the same model in both setups. So to get around that, all we need to do is right click on our bodies and say create component from body. So we'll do that for that one, and then we'll do it for the second one, create components from body. There we go. And so all we need to do now is give them a name. So I'm going to call this one the top patch, and then I'm going to call this one the bottom patch. There we go. So you notice the shield itself and the patches are just different components in the same work area here. So I'm going to go ahead and make the patches invisible, and there you have it. So now we have our model set up. So I'm just going to Control S for save, and now we're going to jump right into our soft jaws. Actually, there's one aspect I forgot to tell you. And what we want to do is highlight, so control click and select the shield and the patches, right click and select create rigid group. So rigid group here. If we don't do that, when we go to do our soft jaws, if we move the shield itself around, the patches will not follow it. They will sort of be disconnected from the shield. So we want to do that rigid group. So now with that being said, we can go ahead and jump into the soft jaws. So I'm going to go ahead and open my Saunders soft jaws. Again, I will provide the Vice models in the description as well, and I'll explain to you how I created them. So essentially what I did is I went to the Saunders website and pulled the Gen 2 Mod Vice models directly from the website, and I added a parametric jaw gap and a joint origin in the center here to sort of assist with being able to parameterize and add my different parts to the model. So what I want to do is go to modify and change parameters, and now we can adjust our jaw gap. And again, you noticed in the overview where I said my jaw gap was not large enough, and therefore I covered the tightening screws on the movable vise. So we want to avoid that. So I originally used 3.5 inches. So you guys are going to want to use 4 inches. And again, you'll see in the machining videos, I stacked parallels to get my 3.5 inches. So you can do that if you don't have a gauge block. Typically, I like to keep my jaw gap 1, 2, or 3 inches just so I can easily use a 1, 2, 3 block in my Kurt vise. But in this case, I was unable to do that. So there you go. You see the jaw opening change based on the parameter. So that's nice. Now all we need to do is go ahead and drag in our Hylian shield coaster. We'll move it upward, and then I want to rotate it 180 degrees. So we'll do that now. We'll hit enter. Now I'm going to press J for joint, get the center of the back, and I want to put it on our joint origin. And then I want to come up 1/4 of an inch. The shield is half of an inch thick. So if I come up 1/4 of an inch, we'll have 1/4 of an inch to hold on to our part. So that is plenty. So we'll go 0.25, and we'll go ahead and press OK. Now you notice there's a sharp point on the bottom of the shield and the top of the shield. So what we want to do is make some Mickey Mouse ears to add some relief. So we will do that as well. So the first thing I want to do now is go ahead and cut out the material around the shield so that our soft jaws will be shaped. So I'm just going to go to modify and then go here to combined. And I'm going to, instead of join, go to cut. And then I'm going to select the first target body, which will be a vise jaw. The tool body is the shield. Press OK. And then we're going to want to do that again, but with the movable vise jaw being the target body, and again, the shield being the tool body. We'll click OK. And now we're just going to go ahead and hide our Hylian shield. And you'll see there's some cleanup work we need to do. So that's easy. The depth of the pocket in the center of our shield is 80 thousandths. So I'm going to E for extrude, and we could go down 80 thousandths. What's easier is instead of distance, if we just go to object and then we select this face here and press OK. There we go. So now that is nice and smooth. So we are going to do the same thing here. So I'm going to go ahead and press E for extrude, select the faces, and then instead of distance, go to object and just select this bottom face. And there we go. Now we have some beautiful pockets that our soft jaws will use to go ahead and clamp our shield. So we're not finished yet. Remember I said we need to make those Mickey Mouse ears, so we'll do that now. So I'm going to go back to the home view. I'm going to click on create new sketch. We'll click on the fixed side jaw first. Now all I'm going to do is press L for line. I'm going to draw a line from the center of the point there. Just drag it out a little bit. Press escape, and then I'm going to click on this line and press X to make it a construction line. Then I'm going to go ahead and press C for circle to make a circle, and I want it to be larger than the diameter of the tool I'm going to use to rough out and finish the soft jaws. I'm going to use a 1/4 inch tool for this, so I'm simply going to make this 300 thousandths, so 0.3. The next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and constrain the circle to the construction line. So I'm going to press the coincident constraint, click the center of the circle, and then the construction line. And now I can press escape and then move the circle down along the construction line. So we're going to go there. And now what I'm going to do is press D for dimension. I want to right click on the circle and go to pick arc tangent, or pick circle / arc tangent. And then I'm going to click the point here and then click the top of the circle, and I want that to be 10 thousandths, 0.01. And then what I'm going to do is go ahead and finish the sketch. I'm going to select this area here, and again I'm going to E for extrude, And instead of distance, I'm going to say to object, and I'm going to select the bottom of the soft jaw here. I'm going to click OK. And now if we zoom out, let's go back to our home view so we can see we have that nice relief, and we have our Mickey Mouse ear with the relief for our soft jaw. So everything there looks beautiful. I'm going to do the same thing for the movable side jaw, or the movable jaw. So I'm going to click L for line, zoom in here. Let's get to the point. I'm going to press exit to get out of the line drawing tool. Click on the line, press X to make it a construction line. Press C for circle. Again, 300 thousandths. You want it to be larger than the diameter of the tool you're using to make the soft jaws. I'm going to press enter. Then I'm going to use the coincident constraint, center of the circle on the line, and then I'm going to press exit or escape, and then I'm going to move the circle close to where I want it to be. Press escape again, D for dimension, right click on the circle, pick circle / arc tangent. Then I'm going to click the point and then the top of the circle. Again, drag left or right, and I want that to be 10 thousandths. Beautiful. So the next thing I want to do is just go ahead and finish the sketch. Again, E for extrude, and then instead of distance, I'm going to say to object, click the bottom of the soft jaw there and press OK. So there we go. Let's go back to home view. So that should do it for the soft jaw. So what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and get into the cam or the machining of the soft jaws. It's going to be rather simple, as we only need two tool paths. So we need a 2D adaptive clearing, and then we are going to use a 2D pocket to just go ahead and finish everything. So we are going to go ahead and do that now. So we're going to go to design, and then we're going to go to manufacture. And the first thing we need to do is go ahead and set up our cam setup. So I am going to right click, new setup. We'll go over here to post process, and I'm just going to name it soft jaws. And actually, just to make it more unique, we're going to call it shield soft jaws, just so if in the future I want to come back, I will absolutely know what this file is meant to be related to. So we're going to go to stock, and I'm going to say from solid, and then I'm going to expand the models, expand the device fixture itself, and then I'm going to select the two soft jaws. Now we'll go into setup, and again for model, I'm just going to click the soft jaws again, and then I'm going to enable fixture, and for the fixture I am going to select the fixed base and the modular base. And now what I need to do is go ahead and set up the WCS. So the piece of stock that I'm going to use is 6 inches. So that is really going to be almost all of the Y travels that my 770 has. So I'm going to orient the vise in sort of this horizontal fashion you see here, rather than vertically, just so I have room to slide the material forwards and backwards, just to try to use the area or the Y-axis cutting area I have as efficiently as possible. So what I want to do now is I want to go ahead and select the box point I want to use. I want to use the fixed side jaw. I'm going to use the upper right hand corner. Again, we're in this sort of horizontal position. And the next thing I'm going to do is I need to orient my axes properly. So I'm going to select Z axis and X axis. And then I'm going to first start by selecting an edge that is in the direction of my Z axis. I'm going to click this edge, and if it disappears, don't worry. We'll come back here in a second. And then I'm going to click an edge in the direction that my X axis would be in. There we go. And now I'm going to click box point again. And then if I click on the point I wanted, you'll see X is in the same direction, X is in the correct direction, Y and Z are sort of pointing opposite. All we need to do is touch the tip of the Z arrow, and there you go. Our X, Y, and Z are in the correct positions. So now we can go ahead and press OK. And then we will begin with our toolpath. So the first thing that I'm going to do is give our setup a name. I'm just going to call this op1. There will only be one op for our soft jaws. I'm going to press enter. And then what I want to do is go ahead and do a 2D adaptive clearing. So I'm going to go to my Tormach 770 library, and I'm going to be using a 1/4 inch end mill from Char Tools. So let's go ahead and find that. So it's a 1/4 inch 3 flute end mill. Okay, we are going to be at 8,000 RPM. And I'm going to go ahead and change the cutting feed rate to 50 inches per minute. We'll go into the geometry. I'm going to select the pocket on the movable side of the jaw and the pocket on the fixed side jaw. All right, so that's good. We'll then go into our heights. Everything there is fine. The stock top is really the top of our soft jaw. So all that looks good. Bottom height, selected contour. I am happy with all of that. So let me go ahead and move this over. Let's go back to our home view just so it's a little easier to see there. Now we'll go into passes, where arguably the most important parameter is, which is our optimal load. I am going to go ahead and change that to, let's say, 25 thousandths optimal load. And then I am going to leave 10 thousandths of stock. Okay, so that all looks good. The last thing I'm going to want to do is go into the ramp here and change the ramp clearance height to 20 thousandths. Again, I always do that just to get myself in the habit of doing it so I don't cut air if I was doing some sort of ramping or helical entry, which we won't be doing. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and press OK, and then we will generate our toolpath. So there we go. We have roughed our soft jaws. So the last thing we need to do is go ahead and finish them. As always, I'm going to right click and simulate, and then just go ahead and drag. And that all looks good to me. Doesn't look like I'm crashing my machine or going to break a tool. So I am happy with that. We'll press exit. And again, we're not seeing the stock being removed there because we chose the stock and the model the same. So we chose our soft jaws to be the stock and the model. If I had some parametric stock separately for each of the soft jaws and then put the soft jaws inside of that parametric stock, which is what we will be doing for our Hylian shield, then you would see the material being removed there. Instead, we just sort of see the toolpath, but again, we can still make sure with simulation that we aren't doing anything stupid. So what we want to do now is just go to 2D, and then we want to go to 2D pocket. Okay, I'm going to go to my tools, and again, I'm going to go ahead and select 770, and then go ahead and go into my tool library and select my 1/4 3 flute end mill from Char Tools. We're going to stay at 7,500 RPM, 30 inches per minute, which gives us right around 1.2 thou per tooth. We'll go into geometry. Again, we're just going to select our two pockets. Then what we want to do is go to heights. Heights is fine, stock top, because we selected from solid in our setup and we chose our soft jaws as our stock and as our model. So really the model top and the stock top are the same. We'll now go into passes. I want to change the maximum step over to 50% the diameter of the tool. I want to enable finishing passes. One finishing pass is fine, and I want my finishing step over to be 10 thousandths. And I do not want to leave any stock. I will enable smoothing and feed optimization. So again, all that looks good. What I will do is, again, just to make sure the ramp clearance height is 20 thousandths instead of 100 thousandths. Let me move this over here. So I apologize if my face was blocking it. So just in case it was, let me go ahead and refresh everyone. So all we did is we went into our geometry, we chose our 2 pockets, we left the top heights the same, we then came into the passes tab, and all we did here is we made sure that we enabled finishing passes, gave a finishing step over of 10 thousandths, and then we changed our maximum step over to be 50% the diameter of the tool, which is 125 thousandths or 1/8 of an inch. So all that looks good. We remove stock to leave. Again, this is a finishing toolpath. We are not going to leave any stock. Then we enabled smoothing and feed optimization. Sorry for repeating myself there. I just feel like my face here was sort of covering the parameters and you didn't get a clear view. And lastly, all we did was come in here and change the ramp clearance height to 20 thousandths, and I do that by default just as a habit. So we'll go ahead and click OK. And so there you have it. We'll go ahead and simulate, right click, simulate, and we'll just sort of walk through the timeline here. And you can see we just sort of clear the pocket, and then we'll come in and do a finishing pass right along the wall there. And so that's it, guys. We finished our soft jaws. I'm going to exit the simulation, go back to the home view. So that does it for this tutorial. We'll now see the soft jaws being machined on the Tormach. I hope you... Alright, so we begin making our soft jaws with our 2D adaptive clearing using a 1/4 inch, 3 flute shards end mill, 50 inches per minute, 1/4 inch depth of cut, and 25 thousandths width of cut. I think I definitely could have pushed the feeds and speeds with this tool, so I'll keep that in mind next time. You notice I have the parallel stacked there to get my 3.5 inch jaw gap. Again, you need to make sure yours is 4 inches. That way you have some clearance for op 2 so that the screws you see at the top of the movable vice jaw on the left, you need clearance to go ahead and tighten those. So now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and begin transitioning into our 2D pocket. So here is our 2D pocket operation. Again, we're using the same Schar's end mill. We're moving 30 inches per minute. Our depth of cut is 10 thou, and our width of cut is 50% the diameter of the tool. Again, we are just cleaning up the floor and sidewalls, removing the 10 thousandths, leaving a nice surface finish, and cleaning up those Mickey Mouse ears to make sure we have some clearance for the sharp edges that are on the bottom and top of the shield. So that's it for this tutorial, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Please leave any comments or concerns in the description, and I hope you join me for the rest of the tutorial series. Thank you. Please like and subscribe.